Iran just fired the Sejjil ballistic missile at Israel for the first time in this war. It is one of the most serious weapons in Iran's entire arsenal, typically reserved for final stage escalation. They call it the dancing missile, not because of its appearance, but because of what it does to missile defense systems. During last summer's war, fragments from a single Sejjil warhead reached Israeli soil after the Arrow system failed to neutralize it fully. Now, it has returned in significant volume at the worst possible moment. On Sunday, March 15th, the 54th wave of Operation True Promise escalated as sirens blared across more than 140 locations in Israel. From Tel Aviv to Herzliya to the southern suburbs, missile debris struck a residential building used by the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem. The debut of this powerful weapon occurred less than 24 hours after U.S. officials reported that Israel is running critically low on the interceptors, designed to stop exactly this kind of threat. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down what makes the Sejjil so difficult to detect. And you will see why the Israeli government approved $826 million in emergency defense spending on the same night their own military claimed there was no shortage. The Sejjil is not a conventional ballistic missile. It is a medium-range, solid-fueled, two-stage weapon that Iran designed and built entirely on its own. Most people hear ballistic missile and picture a weapon flying in one large, predictable arc that can be tracked and destroyed by a modern defense shield. However, the Sejjil warhead carries a maneuverable re-entry vehicle. As it descends at speeds exceeding Mach 5, it does not follow a straight path. Instead, it shifts direction continuously and unpredictably. This is why it earned the nickname dancing missile. A standard interceptor like the Arrow calculates where a warhead will land and sends a kill vehicle to that specific point. When the landing point changes every fraction of a second, that calculation falls apart. The only remaining option is to fire multiple interceptors in a spread pattern, hoping one connects, which burns through stockpiles at an alarming rate. Furthermore, the Sejjil runs on solid fuel, meaning it sits fully loaded on a mobile launcher and is ready to fire within minutes. There is no need for fueling trucks or lengthy preparations visible to satellites. Iran has stated that, when launched from the city of Natanz, the Sejjil reaches Tel Aviv in under 7 minutes. Because it launches from mobile trucks rather than fixed sites, it survives even when bases and facilities are destroyed. While the coalition has hit over 7,600 targets inside Iran since February 28th, the Sejjil system remains functional. Iranian engineers have also reportedly coated the missile in radar-absorbent material to shrink its radar cross-section, making it harder to see on screens and track during its descent. This creates a dual-layer problem where detection and interception are degraded simultaneously. Israel's Arrow 3, which engages threats outside the atmosphere using hit-to-kill technology, depends on precise tracking. A reduced radar signature shortens the detection window and compresses the time available to launch and intercept. The Arrow 2, which engages targets inside the atmosphere, faces similar degradation compounded by the warhead's active maneuvering. Uzi Rubin, the former director of Israel's Ballistic Missile Defense Organization, has argued that the Sejjil appears more distinct from foreign designs than earlier Iranian systems, though open-source assessments still suggest that foreign assistance was likely during its development. Development is believed to have begun in the late 1990s, with tests occurring in 2008 and 2009. The missile reappeared in the Great Prophet 15 exercise in 2021, where analysts noted it may have featured upgraded guidance. While the system is mature and refined, it has not been publicly established if the version used in this war carries an integrated GPS and inertial navigation package. Reports of a longer-range Sejjil 3s also remain unconfirmed. This deployment coincides with a second crisis. On Saturday, March 14th, a report was published stating that Israel had informed America it is running critically low on ballistic missile interceptors. Israel entered this war already short on Arrow-class interceptors after expending large volumes during the June 2025 conflict. The United States fired more than 150 THAAD interceptors during that 12-day engagement alone. Yet the current war's pace dwarfs that campaign. One U.S. official described this as a situation that was expected and anticipated, suggesting they watched the problem build without solving it. The same official stressed that the United States is not facing a parallel shortage, noting they have what is needed to protect U.S. bases and interests, making no mention of Israel's defense needs. The IDF pushed back hard, stating there is currently no shortage of interceptors, and that force is prepared for a prolonged campaign. However, on that same night, the Israeli government approved an emergency transfer of 6 billion shekels, approximately $826 million, to the Defense Ministry for urgent procurement. This is not the behavior of a government with adequate stockpiles. It is the behavior of a government writing emergency checks at midnight. Every Arrow 3 interceptor costs several $1 million and takes significant time to manufacture. Production lines are not designed for wartime surge output. A maneuverable warhead that requires multiple shots per inbound missile collapses the entire cost-exchange ratio. If Iran fires one Sejjil and Israel burns 3 interceptors trying to stop it, the deficit accelerates faster than factories can fill it. To make matters worse, it has been confirmed that Iran has begun equipping ballistic missiles with cluster munitions. Israeli officials say roughly half of the projectiles recently launched have been cluster munitions, with warheads dispersing 20 to 24 bomblets. Systems like Iron Dome are not designed to neutralize such a wide spread. Reports indicate that at least 3 people have been killed by these weapons, including 2 at a construction site in central Israel, bringing the total death toll from ballistic strikes to 12. The strain is reaching a boiling point. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stated on March 13th that Iran's ballistic missile production capacity has been functionally defeated, yet Iran has launched 54 waves of attacks, including the debut of its most technologically advanced indigenous missile. If production had truly been defeated, this weapon should not be on the battlefield. This suggests either that the assessment was premature or that Iran is reaching into its strategic reserves of approximately 2,500 ballistic missiles. The decision to withhold the Sejjil for the first 53 waves was a deliberate choice, signaling either strategic patience or a move toward desperation. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Israel Katz describes the conflict as entering a decisive stage with unyielding resolve, while Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian calls retaliation a duty and a right. Both sides are projecting total resolve and inevitable victory, but the evidence does not cleanly match either narrative. Meanwhile, oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz have been disrupted, Maersk has suspended crossings, and insurers are declining to cover Gulf transit. This war is not contained. It is repricing risk across the global economy in real time. The initial plan of overwhelming air superiority and political collapse has met the reality of a nation absorbing damage and launching from dispersed mobile platforms. Israel's plan for layered defense is under extreme pressure from warheads designed to defeat its math. The dancing missile is now airborne, and the question remains how many more waves this conflict can sustain before the numbers run out entirely. Join the discussion in the comments, and let me know who you think is winning or if the war is getting out of hand. Subscribe and like the video to stay updated.